Hello.
Hi. I'm full of contradictions.
We are all, I think. So, what do you think is community?
I think community has, it's sort of a layered meaning, and I think of it as not only the people that you live within proximity to you, but as well as people with kind of common values, systems, way of life, sort of that people that can come together and agree that in a way that we can support each other in our likenesses and differences and support each other and help each other grow. And I think that, where we live, what we do, and how we live with each other and amongst each other, sometimes not with each other, sometimes in opposition to each other, helps build community and a greater understanding of who we are as people and where we live in the planet and how we interact with each other. Then you take a deep breath and that can expand, into being a larger community of in your state, in your country, in the world. But I often tend to think of it more locally because I feel like locally I can affect more change and participate more effectively and hope that however I act or participate in community, there'll be some kind of a ripple effect, and that what I do will impact somebody, which will impact somebody. So to help support that kind of values that I hold true. I've always appreciated working in a collaborative kind of way, so you don't feel as isolated, so you feel validated, so you feel that the work that you're doing has value and your voice makes a difference. The obvious sort of example is the growth of my participation in ASU20 and creating that place that will support local artists, freedom of expression, supporting people to realize who they are through a creative process.
How did Providence look like then that you felt that space was necessary?
Well, ASU20 wouldn't exist without my husband, Bert. He was the visionary of it, and I'm more of a worker bee. We felt the need for a place where people could feel free to gather, to express themselves, and present whatever it is in as non-judgmental and supportive of environment as possible. We found a space around the corner on Richmond Street, and it was in a derelict building. There was no heating and, plumbing that wasn't hooked up. It was a derelict building, and it was being renovated the first floor by a club, and we took the second floor, sort of lived it and breathed it and celebrated it and choked on it and everything to have the public just in the middle of our lives and our lives in the middle of the public. It was always a very equitable kind of way of thinking, so that everybody's, whatever they do, whether you're cleaning the toilet or running out to buy soda for the counter or running sound, that everything is equally important. And when it came obvious that we either had to move out of that space because there was a rock and roll club below us, you had very limited time we could do shows, it was either find a building or just say, that was great, see you later, enjoy your life. So at that point is when we found the building on Empire Street with the help of the city, identifying the building, and did that grassroots, community-based, a lot of effort and a lot of love and work put in by people that cared about ASU20 to make that building happen.
What helped ASU20 grow as an organization?
Absolute commitment by a few people to really do whatever it took to make it happen. And then more people helping to realize that vision. It being the responsibility and owned by everybody, it belongs to the community at large. And if it was going to exist, it needed the community to nurture it and grow it and sustain it. All those pieces are critical to come together, and knowing that you're a piece of a complicated puzzle, it really helped form like a strong community base. Yeah, give people a place to be. Well, ASU20, it grew from the bottom up, inside out. If to go back and say, I want to make one of these, and I want to have these buildings, and I want to have these things that you have, like that's sort of backwards. That's outside in. It's like taking an agenda and trying to force something to happen. Print shop started because there was residents there that needed a print shop. They get out of RISD, they get out of school, they had no place to be. There was needs, and it was like, hey, let's make a print shop. Mark Padini was a huge driving force in that. It's just like the darkroom with Scott Lapham and Pam Murray working on creating the darkroom. A lot of these different things grew out of from people, individuals, that also had a link to a larger need in the community. And those things change, and those needs change. So you have to be sort of flexible and be willing to change, but understand what the needs are. Of course, the financial help and was critical. And a team of banks worked together to help us get it going. There has to be some trust. If someone's going to donate some money, they have to trust that you're going to have the integrity and follow the mission that you've put forth. You can't donate money and then think that because you donated money you have control.
As an artist yourself, what could have been helpful to have?
I mean, artists and art spaces, they need affordable space. It really helps to have a space to exist in that don't get pushed out. Which is a big reason why we bought the building, because just like every other city in the planet for centuries, artists go into a place that doesn't seem to have value or interest, make something happen, create life and breath, and then get squeezed out. Affordable housing is critical, not just for artists, but for everyone. If people don't have a place to live that they can afford, you're just going to undermine community. If people can't afford to live in a place and they brought creative energy and life into a place, and then suddenly they can't afford to be there, you're going to lose it. And then what are you going to have? Some fancy apartment with no life surrounding it. I mean, there's different ways also to think about living. There can be communal living spaces. We have a communal live floor at ASU 20 that we've maintained because that's how we lived from the beginning, and just didn't want to lose that. Maybe places like the Superman building, where there's maybe central plumbing for something in there, could become more of communal live spaces, where it like takes some of those complications out of every single space having a sink and a bathroom and a shower and a kitchen and the whole deal. Maybe there's ways to think in a little different way with a different kind of live space model that maybe could have other accommodations, workshops or facilities or spaces to practice, or dance, or whatever it is. That doesn't look like your typical, I live in this apartment and I have a neighbor who lives in a different apartment next to me. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to think about how we live and commune. Housing, though, that's a big one.
Yeah.
A message to Providence artists today: just keep making. Just making and stay true to yourself. Make what you need to say. Make it inside out. Make it from the inside out.
Share if you have a question with the city.
How is the city going to address the housing kind of crisis now that's happening to people that work in the service industries, which a lot of artists do, to supplement their income, as well as a lot of other people. So does the city have a vision on how the needs for housing, affordable housing, and places to present will be addressed or supported? Is there a plan in place? How's that going to happen? Because without the people that can support those services and that industry, the city will just lose its soul. Can't ignore the people. That's who live here.
Yeah. Susan, thank you so much for again sharing all this, your experience in such a candid way. Thank you, Susan.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
How did you feel?
I don't know.